Talk about a takedown. Hello, everybody. David Schuster here. The lone liberal on Fox News, Jessica Tarlov, recently ripped conservative Jeanine Pirro. And this broadside on the Five was one of the most brutal and effective you will ever see. The panel was talking about the war in Ukraine, and Jeanine Pirro expressed sympathy for Vladimir Putin's Russia, given the NATO alliance.
Every decade, they've moved closer and closer to Russia, NATO has. And the Crimea and everything else is a response to NATO.
Russia. NATO encroaching on them.
They are an independent country who believes, and I'm not pro-Russia at all.
Really?
But
it doesn't sound like that.
Don't give me that,
You
really.
Don't give me that.
Don't give me that. You know?
Judge Jeanine, she just did give you that. You sound like an apologist for Putin.
You know what? The truth is they stand for this, and they don't want NATO any closer. And it's been decades that that's been agreed to.
They invaded a sovereign nation and
do you remember 3 years ago?
They've stolen their children.
Okay, 3 years ago.
1 second, Jessica. No.
3 years ago, I sat here and I said the Russian-Ukrainian thing is like a family fight across the street. We don't want to go over there and get in between a family fight.
Leave it to Greg Gutfeld to reduce the battle between Russian tyranny and European freedom to a family fight across the street. Keep in mind that Russia wants all of Ukraine, and Donald Trump keeps denigrating Ukraine's leader Zelensky and has never criticized Russia's Putin, even though Vladimir Putin started the war by invading Ukraine. Now, Trump is carrying Putin's water in possible negotiations, and that was Tarlov's point about the Trump peace deal.
Do you think that it's important to consider the fact that this quote unquote peace deal that he's offering means that Zelensky essentially cedes his country to Russia? And no one has explained what the sudden change in the last couple of weeks and the way that Donald Trump is talking about Ukraine and Zelensky is spurred by. He didn't used to call Zelensky a dictator. He didn't used to say that his people hated him. He didn't used to say he had a 4% approval rating. He didn't used to say any of the total blasphemy that he's been throwing out there in the last few weeks. Elon Musk also on Twitter a couple days ago saying, I agree, to someone who said that the U.S. should get out of NATO and the UN.
Blasphemy.
These are all things. Is that bad? I couldn't come up with the right word.
It's funny.
Okay. Well, have a good chuckle at it. These are all things that Putin wants to hear. And you know that because his own spokesman, Peskov, said as much, said the rapidly changing U.S. foreign policy configurations largely coincides with our vision. Dmitry Medvedev, the insolent pig about Zelensky, finally got a proper slapdown in the Oval Office. Trump is right. The Kyiv regime is gambling with World War III. So if you are satisfying someone that we all agree is a dictator and authoritarian to that level, don't you think maybe the methods aren't that great?
But such deep thinking is usually beyond the reach of most conservatives, including those on the Five. Those panelists, including Jeanine Pirro and Jesse Waters, are Trump-parroting simpletons.
If you can't do it militarily, you got to go do it at the negotiating table.
You know what? The truth is that Donald Trump's job is to get a deal. And that means you don't take one side or the other.
He's taking
and
one
their
side.
interpretation of his not taking, of his
Brett
not
says we have to go.
criticizing
Stop.
Putin is that he's pro-Putin. He's a deal maker.
Okay.
Glad
Who
we
likes
settled that.
Vladimir Putin?
Trump is a deal maker who, Tarlov adds, likes Vladimir Putin. And Trump's alliance with Putin is the unvarnished truth that Trump defenders will not acknowledge. But it gets even worse, because on shows like The Five, conservatives not only dismiss the Trump love of Putin, the conservatives dump on Zelensky because this is what Donald Trump and J.D. Vance did. So Jeanine Pirro attacks Zelensky, and a quick retort from Tarlov underscores that Pirro comes across like a Trump-Putin stooge.
This guy Zelensky's playing checkers and Trump is playing chess. This guy Zelensky's a fool. I'm not pro-Russia at all.
Really?
But
It doesn't sound like that.
Don't give me that,
You don't
really.
give me
No,
that.
don't.
Jeanine Pirro has been giving truth tellers opportunities to shame her for years.
The real issue here is that he's talking a big game about transparency, but he's not being transparent himself. This idea that Elon Musk shouldn't have to do financial disclosures like everybody else who's working in the government is ludicrous.
They're
the New
all
York
over the
Times,
Doge
they're
website.
Also, when you pull it up, it's empty right now. And President Trump said yesterday, oh, well, he doesn't need to do it. Caroline Leavitt has said he doesn't need to do it.
He just put out why does Elon's financial disclosure remain secret?
because nobody's looking at that. We're looking at all the corruption that's taking place.
Elon Musk is currently a, quote, special government employee who also owns companies that have billions of dollars in federal contracts. You said earlier this week that he has abided by all applicable federal laws, but what steps is the Trump administration taking to address that conflict of interest?
The president was already asked and answered this question this week, and he said if Elon Musk comes across a conflict of interest with the contracts and the funding that Doge is overseeing, then Elon will excuse himself from those contracts. And he has, again, abided by all applicable laws. Elon Musk, as I've confirmed before, is a special government employee. He is filing the proper financial disclosure, and he is complying with all applicable federal laws. As you also heard, Elon address this directly yesterday in the alleged conflict of interest, and he said everything he's doing is very public, and if you all perceive a conflict of interest, you're welcome to bring that up. And as the president said, if he feels like Elon is engaging in something that's a conflict of interest, he will tell Elon not to do that. And Elon also said yesterday that before he moves forward with anything, he consults with the president of the United States.
Don't the American people deserve to know? He has tens of billions of dollars in government contracts. If you are the Doge master, then open up your own books. That's part of the federal government. They are spending money on Elon Musk
Rich,
and all
what
this
do you say to that?
technology.
Fox News token liberal Jessica Tarlov tried her best to tell conservatives watching not to trust Elon Musk and take everything he says at face value. She's by no means a leftist or progressive. So hearing her echo what we've been saying since Musk started bankrolling Trump's campaign and the blatant corruption we've witnessed since is an overall net positive, since we know conservatives would never critically think about something like this.
Mr. Talkov, do you know how much money a day Mr. Musk will receive from the federal government for his contracts?
No.
The answer is $8 million a day. Just last year, Elon Musk was promised $3 billion from close to 100 contracts with the federal government. Ms. Royal, do you know how much the average person in this country who survives on Social Security, one of our seniors who's worked their entire life, about how much they have to survive on a day?
I do not.
$65 a day. We're not looking into Elon Musk's $8 million a day. This subcommittee, chaired by Marjorie Taylor Greene and the House Republicans, is looking into your grandmother's $65 a day. Let me be clear. I think we would all support taxpayer savings, look into money we might needlessly send to billionaires and big corporations, find taxpayer savings, and send it back to your hardworking family. But instead, what House Republicans and the Trump-Musk administration want to do is they want to look into your kids' lunch money, your kids' teacher's salary, into your grandparents' Social Security. They want to take that money and give it out in billionaire tax cuts, and they're talking about that in committee tomorrow. In Budget Committee tomorrow, they just released their plan. So let me be clear. When Republicans talk about government efficiency in this Congress, they're not looking into billionaires who don't pay their taxes. They're not looking into billionaires who get rich off of government contracts. They're not looking into Elon Musk firing watchdogs who are supposed to keep him accountable. They're looking at cutting your public schools. They're going straight for your Social Security. They're coming straight for cancer research. They're coming straight for the Department of Education. They're not looking at big tech. They're not looking at big pharma because those people fund their campaigns.
What I really love about his testimony is he really calls out the hypocrisy in Elon Musk trying to get rid of all this waste in federal government spending, because you, my friend, make $8 million a day from federal government contracts. For what? It ain't helping us. It ain't helping the average American. I'll tell you that much. It's helping the rich get richer. And then for the subcommittee, as he points out, to be more concerned with cutting Social Security, cancer research, the Department of Education, right? Listen, the average American senior who has worked their whole life to be in this position makes $65 a day. We're looking into that instead of Elon Musk, who makes $8 million a day. $8 million a day from government contracts. That's quite rich. The irony is quite rich there.